Hey. I've got my 90s going on today. See what happens if you surrender to darkness, you wake up the next day reborn. It's only when you shut down one expression of energy that you end up being trapped in it. Wait and see if anyone joins us, hey? Hopefully I'm in the right place. Let me check on my computer if I can see that I am live. I don't think I switched off of Wi-Fi actually, so we'll have to see how this goes. That could be a pain. Ah, there I am. Ah, there's someone on live with me. Can you let me know that you can hear me before I move on? Give me a thumbs up or a comment that says, I can hear you. That would be super. Who's a 90s lover? Ah, yay! Thanks, Carly. I'm not sure if I'm going to have lag in my comments too, so I might have to keep checking my laptop. Hey, Tracy. Good. Thank you. I probably should turn my music down, but I'm enjoying it too much. Hello, Michelle. How are you going? It's been 100 years. Hi, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. Been on an impromptu run this morning. That's why I'm late. Trying to teach my third to ride a bike is very challenging. So she finally got there. We always have to go through an enormous amount of resistance before we get to the ease. It's like, I feel like that train, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, you know? And I'm like, oh God, help me. And so by the time she's hit a wave, I think, well, I can't stop you now. So that's why we're late today. Oh yeah, thanks. I know. I have a whole 90s playlist and I gotta tell you, it brings me the most enormous amount of joy to relive it. And I can't tell you the joy that it is to hear my children singing 90s music. Or slash, you know, doing embarrassing dance moves for them. Sometimes I think we've got to remember who we are. Got to go backwards, right, to go forwards. Whatever it takes to move into that energy of, you know, that reminds us of who we used to be. You know, I better take that song off of repeat. I tend to find the energetic music match and then leave it on repeat like a mantra. But that could get quite annoying for you. So let me just unclick that so that you get to listen to all of my 90s list, but not just one song. So today I want to most desperately and beautifully remind you that this work that might make your heart soar or connect some dots, and I've been getting loads of messages for makes so much sense, and now I can see all of the things from my past relationship or my ex-husband or, you know, blah, blah, blah. Don't then assume that you are lacking. Don't berate yourself for not being in your feminine. Or put the enormous amount of pressure on yourself that the feminine sounds so wonderful that should be the place that you live, that you spend all of your time. That if you were just more feminine, your relationship would be easier. So I want you to know that the work that we do here is to teach you how to balance yourself so that you can use the best of all of your spectrum, so that when you want attraction, spark, chemistry, and ignition between you and your partner, you can do it. And when you need to be on the same team and communicating next level and running the ship of a household where there's no polarity and chemistry whatsoever, that you can do that and that can feel really good. And that when you need to get shit done and be on a mission and find your purpose and, you know, do the things that set your heart on fire, that you get to do that. But when you've done it, that you know how to come back. Or when you're in the middle of it and you think, fuck, I'd like a cheeky moment, that you know how to instantaneously do that rather than waiting to be initiated, waiting to be ignited, waiting for your world to be something, waiting for him to be something, or stopping it entirely because you don't let yourself and you don't let him either. So polarity is not a place where you can sustain living continuously. The amount of energy that is present in the human body is something that can be experienced and moved and circulated, but it's not sustainable for an extended amount of time. We have to be able to have expansion and contraction. There has to be, you know, a release of breath and a contraction in order for there to be an intake of breath and an expansion. And if you've gone through a massive period of expansion, there will be a period of contraction where you have to come back in and reconcile it all and work it all out. That's why you're a cyclical being. It's why you have a cycle. It's why we have seasons. Some might say it was why we had the Big Bang. It has to be the out breath and the in breath, and that when we're able to see contraction and expansion in action and be part of that movement, that we get to move that more meaningfully and more masterfully and more deliciously. So I know I'm speaking in circles. Get back on track, Julie. Hi, Candy. What I want you to get out of this is, it is not a place to live 24/7 because you need your masculine. If you are all just light and energy and there's no structure whatsoever, you would simply not be able to show up in your world the way that you enjoy, the way that motherhood requires, the way that our society requires, the way that, you know, earning a living and being responsible and assertive in this world requires. You need both. I'm just saying, learn how to move yourself through both when you want to and it feels amazing. Not when it's at the mercy of a set of circumstances or you're waiting and you're in the waiting no man's land forever, constantly seeking your power outside of you, you know. So you start where you are, because where you are is perfect, and where you are has given you superpowers and enormous gifts, and there is nothing dysfunctional about where you find yourself right now, ever. In fact, the more I see what we might term as dysfunction or discomfort in relationships, the more I'm hit with how profoundly beautiful that experience is. That there's always a function. The function of this exact dysfunction is orchestrating for your growth, right? Just like in yesterday's, I think it was yesterday's lesson. You start where you are. You can't leave where you are without finding the gratitude for everything that where you are gave you. We kind of have to come to that soul opening place of, I see you. I see the person that got you here. I see who you are. I see all of the gifts you've brought with you and this phase of life. And with the deepest love and compassion, I choose to move forwards and let die, shed the skin, drop the cloak, leave behind, step over the threshold, whatever, you know, language, framework, spiritual practice, rite of passage or transition feels good for you. But we don't change when we're running from who we are or where we've come from, or when we're hating it because we just run into it. To really be able to change and evolve is to see how beautiful it is, even when you can't see that. And to leave it going, thank you. This is my symbolic offering of how I can see the love that's present in what I assume has no love or used to see as such. And I can see that love and choose something different. So start where you are and you practice every day. Life is your playground. Life is your practice. Life is always orchestrating around you for your practice. So you're never short an opportunity. Only a desire to change or to not change. Can't try and lift a chair. Either you lift it or you don't, right? And relationship and personal growth and belief changing is exactly the same. There's no trying. Either you're changing or you're staying. And either way, you're choosing it, right? So you start where you are and you practice every day. And you slowly start to let yourself see the veils that have been hidden from you previously on who and how he is and who and how you are, and unlearning everything your society told you was correct or your family told you was correct, and learning a new way of living and being in love and in relationship. So if you don't cultivate it, you lose it. You know, what was that 80s slogan? Move it or lose it, I think it was, wasn't it? It's the same thing with energy and polarity. You practice it or you lose it. You can't play the flute masterfully if you never practice. Can't, I don't know, pick anything, right? Sing the soprano if you don't practice. So the other point that I want to make in here, there's several, I'm not going to lie, but one of them here is that if you choose to live a life where you have relationship as something that is extraordinary and a central focus of your feeling state in this world and your joy, then it has to be a focus. It can't be at the bottom of everything else. Everything else can't pile on top and take priority, and it just keeps slipping to the bottom. If that's what's happened, that's where you'll find relationship pain, because energy flows where attention flows, right? So if you want the relationship that is amazing, the people that have that will orchestrate their lives around relationship being a central focus. So in every day, I do the practice with my children, with my work, with my body, noticing I'm doing my own practice every day. But I'm making sure that every day I've spoken in the love languages that work for him, that him and I have had touch points of energetic spark and connection, that we have time together. Now for me, that means I need kids in bed early. I need space to be us without with everyone else. So it's beautiful to be with people around, and it's also beautiful not to. And to get really serious about how you're scheduling them into your life. Because we all have the same amount of time. Time isn't a thing. And whatever we're doing will consume and fill the time that we have. And it'll be consumed and filled by those things that we consider a priority or a top value in our life. So if that's parenting, that's what will fill up that time unconsciously. If that's work, that's what will fill up that time unconsciously. So if you want to have relationship be just as meaningful and delicious as any of your other top values, then you have to be willing to carve out a similar amount of time. And to see how it's not about one taking away from the other, but how they both serve to empower you. So, I do ask any of you who are in Flowers and Honey or Queen School with me to do certain amounts of scheduling. It has to look really unsexy before the sexy arrives, because we just have to change our patterns a little bit, you know. I like Mariah Carey, but if you don't, I'm sorry. So if you want a deeply passionate relationship, you've got to make time for passion. And if you say you want it, but your actions don't match that, why are you choosing to stay where you are? Because it's more delicious to you in this moment than the alternative, or the fear is greater. You'd have you perceive that you'll lose out. Your psyche will keep you where you are, and we're marvelously, incredible psyches. So I would say to you, if you don't cultivate it, you lose it. Energy, relationship, the ability to move seamlessly into your feminine, the ability to move out of your masculine, right? If you don't cultivate it, if you don't practice it, you lose it. But you start where you are and you practice every day. You got to trust the relaxation of your feminine body, that magnetic flow of energy that exists in that state. And practice until you trust that as much as you trust your masculine, your mind, and your goals. Until you trust it so much that there's space for him to take up that polarity of mind and mission and direction and goals and master of space and time. And I want you to know, like I spoke about at the start, that love contracts distance. When we feel deep love, we want to be sameness. We want to belong and feel the same and close the distance and feel closer together and more in sameness, companionship. We want to feel safe. So it's a duality, because what creates the arc of electricity and passion and chemistry is the tension of opposites. Think of the battery or magnets. It's the tension that's hot. It's the space between the two. But love wants to make you neutral and the same, and close the gap. So it's just really worth understanding that it doesn't mean that it's not possible for your relationship to go from best friends to tearing each other's clothes off. But you have to understand how to separate, how to change codependency, how to self-identify more and move into the space. God, I can't listen to this song while I'm talking to you. Hang on, I got to change it. Girls just want to have fun. Maybe that's better. One day we should just have a 90s rock out, I reckon. Maybe a dance party one day when we're not in social isolation. So you just have to understand that love wants to contract and passion needs expansion. So you just have to get that. And when you get that, it becomes powerful, because then all you do is move from here to practice and you can be here. So my husband and I function really well because we can be here and on the same team, and zero polarity. We're like best friend CEOs running this ship. Of course, you're doing a little bit of that because two of the same aren't needed in a whole universe. But being a feminine being, my responsibility is for the flow of love. So when I feel it dip, because he won't, because he's a core masculine, and for me to expect him to is to expect him to move into his feminine. When I feel a dip in love, I go, I'm yearning. Before I get angry and it turns into like, well, you're not giving me and you're not enough, I'm just going to create space and distance by moving my polarity. And the second I do that, bang, tension. Hot tension. sexy, sparky chemistry tension. You know, it's got nothing to do with body size and age and, you know, all that stuff. He's just responding to the light that he will feel radar for in this world. That's all it is. So start where you are and practice every day. And my last one of these points is the procrastination conversation. Because procrastination is probably one of the best, most utilized forms of self-sabotage. And there is no shortage of people who want to procrastinate with you. None. If you want to find a way to avoid the thing, there'll be someone who wants to dance, watch a movie, go out for a drink, give you permission to sit down and draw instead of doing the thing, or, you know, like there's no shortage of it. If we want someone to affirm what it is that we're wanting to have affirmed, we will find them. A diagnosis, an opinion, a validation of our current belief process, there is no shortage. If I believed truly that the world was flat, I would find someone else who confirmed with me and for me that the world was flat. Same thing with relationship. So there's so many fun things you could be doing instead of the work that makes you go into places that feel uncomfortable and bring up tension in your body. And all of the shit that you keep moving away from, as soon as it rises and gets too hard in your body, there's, you know, you don't want to stay anymore. So part of the work we do is what you do with that. But that's procrastination. You know, it can be super fun, but then years go by. And you wonder why so-and-so around you does experiences life in this way, and you're still here. You've had fun, but is it deeply fulfilling? Are you deeply fulfilled? So if you're serious about changing your life, you'll find a way, right? Harsh, but true. For me too. I always ask myself when I move away from the thing that I say I want, why am I choosing that? Because in choosing that, I perceive and for my kids as well, God, I had that conversation with them all the time, particularly my son. You perceive by doing the action that you're choosing that you are avoiding pain, because we're pleasure-seeking creatures, pain-avoiding. Punishment and reward, right? We assume there's a bigger reward by moving away, there's more pleasure here, but ultimately you don't escape pain. It just changes form and catches up with you and you run back into it. So, procrastination help. Here's my tips. Doing something is better than doing nothing. Starting, not waiting for perfect. Perfection is another form of procrastination. And a choice to choose fear over trust. Still choosing something. Fear or trust. Momentum is a thing, turns out. One foot in front of the other, and eventually you get to where you want to be. But if you don't make a foot, you don't end up moving. So do something. Momentum is a thing. Start where you are. Practice every day. You know? Notice where you stop. Notice the point you go and you retreat, or you close up, or you move backwards, or there's some part of you that stops. Just notice. And just get curious. If you're curious, it's pretty hard to be any other feeling. So choose curiosity. You know? Get yourself an accountability buddy. I don't care if it's a girlfriend. I don't care if it's something like Queen School. I think that's the purpose of these containers. Even me scheduling these lives with you guys, right? Like, if I hadn't said I choose the people who choose to listen to be my accountability buddies and I lock it in and then I say I show up for that, I wouldn't be here. I'd find 1,000 other things that I could consume that time with, or a million other reasons why I just didn't feel like it. And then there'd be no growth. You know? So pick your form of accountability. A course, a lover, a partner, a time frame, a desire map of some sort. Pick something. Get yourself an accountability buddy. I don't think I need my next point. And then I've got love where you're at right now. Because where you're at is perfect, which is what I said at the start. There is no shame and nothing wrong with where you're at. We have far too many stories, but far too much shame around our sexuality, our intimacy, our forms of love. And therefore we have so many protective mechanisms, and we continue to choose fear because we've never learned how to open. So you start where you are. And you just practice every day. So, Nicole, I'm coming back to you. You're coming back. You can't wait for this. Polarity is so important, powerful, and what I need and what I want in my relationship and life. Yeah. Hells yes, me too. And if you're in Queen School, that's exactly what you're there for. We must do a dance party. I know. But here's my control freak. I'd have to control the music. All right. So, wherever you are is perfect. Start where you are and practice every day. Know that love closes distance and attraction and chemistry requires distance. So all you have to do is learn your art form. And I think it was from the live 2 days ago where we talked about movement from boss energy to queen energy, just having a set of skills that you can utilize that move you from your masculine into your feminine in the moments that you want polarity and chemistry. And you can hit that note throughout a day. It doesn't have to be without kids. I use my polarity in my parenting. It's, I think, fucking most delicious way to parent. I love the shit out of my kids when I know I have the power to instantaneously. I don't really yell or get angry, like to the point where I'm losing it all that often, because what's communicated comes through my body and I realize I have the power to move mine, to move theirs, and that they're in response to me with that. And like I talked about, when I can't even think what day it was, when I was in that conversation with my teens, and they're learning all of that, like such a delicious blueprint. Ugh. So learning this work can empower any and every part of your life to turn it to, right? I've used it in meetings. I use it in my work, healing people, healing couples, movement between, healing in women's circles. Polarity is a thing. Energy is a thing. And you're born to channel it and use it for healing, for more light, for more love, for greater fulfillment and depth in this world, not mediocrity and closure, not a half breath, a full breath, a full out and then a full in, and that there's just a delicious movement in relationship with that expansion and contraction. Can't be continuously in expansion. So that was my point of today. Polarity is a practice. It's not a way that you live, because you're going to need your masculine and you're going to need your feminine, and you just need to know the art of how to move between them. So that's where we're at. This is our last Queen School pre-training today. So thank you for joining me on this journey. It's been really cool. Completely loved having the accountability of showing up, Because as I said to you, otherwise I wouldn't. It's the thing, right? It's got to be a level of structure. It's got to be a level of masculine container to hold light. And so you've got someone you show up for is such a beautiful way to do it. We're relational beings, you know. So I really hope over the course of these 6 lives that you have found something beautiful that's opened your heart or your body, opened your mind. I hope maybe more so allowed you to consider the experience of what might be, what could be, to play with that, particularly while you're in ISO. I really hope that this has been learning, if even confrontational for you. There's no shortage of people that you'll find in your posse to validate exactly the way that you see the world. The only way to grow sometimes is to go beyond. And some of the 5 people we spend the most time with, and that includes the teachers that we invite in. So if you're ready, I would love you to come do Queen School. I do honestly believe that, and I struggled to believe it, so I kept it, just to myself for so long, but there's too many relationships that have changed from it, too many women that have burst open in front of my eyes for me to pretend to myself that it's not the light that I'm here to move out. So as scary as that is, because our purpose always has an edge of that, that's what it is. So I've certainly had many beautiful messages over the course of even just this week of, wow, shit, I got that, or I felt that, or, oh, you're who I've been looking for, or this thing, or, God, that's why my relationship is like this, or it reminds me of my ex, or I can see how my relationship went that way. That's huge accountability. That shit is hard. So, in 80s style. Or 90s, whatever the heck I'm listening to right now. Hi, Carly. My plan is to come into Mad Mastermind, and I'm like, oh, I haven't done it yet. I promise you I'm coming. Carly is a super rad woman, and if you're into finding flow in between your cycles, then go check out her soul modes. All right, my loves. Thank you for the week, the 6 days. I have loved it. Loved it. I would love to know if you've loved it too. I hope you'll come into Queen School with me. I would desperately. It's nothing that would flutter my little heart more than talking about relationship, sex, and women's bodies for 10 weeks. It's my dream. All right. I'll see ya.